in the years of his float plane, though he flew a float plane up there, so that would have been in the 50s. And a guy by the name of Ken White, he was the brother of the former Longview Chief of Police Kermit White, but Ken White was the camp director at Spirit Lake, and he flew his float plane up to the lake. And they were up there, and they got this harebrained idea that Ken was going to water ski behind the float plane.
I'd never pulled a water skier. I didn't know anything about pulling a water skier, it would be very unmasculine for somebody to wear a life jacket water skiing. That's just that would be unheard of. It'd be a sissy. And so he got on there, he got on the deck, and I couldn't see because I was in the back of it. You had to fly it from the back. Well, you can't see back there. You can see forward. You can't. So there was a guy out there in the boat. I kept moving ahead, and he said to hit it, and I did. And I wanted to get the thing off the water because I didn't want this new engine, newly overhauled engine. I didn't want that thing to overheat. So I got up there, and there was just a little bit of ripple in the water, but not enough to break it loose. So I popped one float out, and once you get one float out, that cuts the drag. And then I popped it loose, and was able to do that, and leveled off right away. And then got up to a reasonable speed. This was at 3,200 feet, so the reasonable speed for flying is a little bit more than what you would indicate at sea level. Not much, about 2.5%, 2.5 miles, something like that. Anyway, I leveled off, and I was flying across the lake. Well, eventually I figured I'm going to have to do some turning here, so I brought it up. I brought it up to a maybe 30 feet off the 20 feet off the water. I didn't want to pull him off the ski. I had to look back, and I couldn't see anything, and I went into a turn, and here's this rope arc back there, and there was a handle on the end. Well, I lost him, and I figured, well, okay. So I got up, I went up higher, looked around, couldn't see him anyplace, and then I came around, and I figured, well, if I go across here and I go back to land, I don't want to hit him, and I don't want to, what it's going to be. And I've got this rope with a handle on it, and if that gets caught in a tree, it's going to might cause some problems. It isn't going to stall the airplane out or anything. The rope would break, but I didn't want to break his rope. And so I saw some boats heading out from shore. And now you got to think of this. This was Labor Day weekend. There were thousands of people up there, I'm sure. And I didn't think anybody was watching, but evidently there were people watching this. And I got back in, and I didn't know what had happened to him or whatever. I came into shore, and they just came okay, and they said, well, he's coming in on the boat. And when he evidently, he tells me that, well, people said that they just skipped like a rock. Yeah, and the arms and legs flying and stuff like that. And I didn't think it was going very fast, but evidently this was faster than most water skiers ski. And when they landed, he had torn his swimsuit off of him, and he had this towel around him, and he could hardly walk. And he was all bruised, and up one side of his body was all black and blue. The next day I talked to him about what happened, and he said, well, things were fine because when he pulled away from shore, I was leaving a wake, and that riding the wake, there weren't any ripples. And this was a little bit of ripple in the water. But when I came loose, first of all, there was a acceleration that he wasn't expecting. It's more than what you would anticipate, evidently. And then he hit the ripply water, which was just kind of like he said his muscles he couldn't operate his muscles, and he couldn't let go because he kept going faster and faster, and he was afraid to let go, and then he finally just bit it, and And the people said that he just skipped, he just flung his legs flying like a rock. Bang, boom. And he was not wearing his life jacket, and people got to him before he sank under the water. But evidently, it is much faster than, well, of course, MV squared. It's really moving quite rapidly. If you double the speed, you quadruple the effect of it. And I think I doubled the speed many times. That's the first time I pulled anybody with water skis. I think it might be the only time. So this, so I did that, and then of course I got back down and I found out that I was going to San Jose State, and so I didn't come on the following weekend. I headed for San Jose State. And that was the end of the seaplane. But it was interesting. I wanted a job. I stayed at the airport there during the summer. When I first got there, the weather was such that I could stay in the back of a hangar, and it was free. And just the Reed Hillview Airport. And but I wanted to get a job, a part-time job, and as a mechanic. And there was a guy with the San Jose Municipal Airport, which is now the great big municipal airport, San Jose. That's huge, but it wasn't that big at that time. And I can remember going in for an interview, and he looked at me like, "Oh, you're from Washington. And you got float rating? That's one thing." And he told me, he said, I was up there. I was up in Washington, Labor Day weekend. This was about a year later. I was up there in Washington, Labor Day weekend at Spirit Lake, Roosevelt Spirit Lake. And I saw one of the dumbest things that I've ever seen in my life. And there's something interrupted it, and I don't know, but I'm almost certain that he was referring to that. But I didn't get the job, and I just wonder if that might be the reason.